joining me today. Imagine you're walking down the street and you pass by a building and you get chills down your spine, but you just brush it off thinking, oh, it's just silly. But what you don't know is that building actually has a dark history behind it. In Paris, there are many dark tourism spots with dark histories. First, there's the catacombs. Second, there is the Museum Fragneroy de Alfort. And third is the 21 Rue Le Sieur, which is a street. So you're saying, how can I talk about this? Well, I have actually been to the catacombs in Paris. And I actually have an interest in dark tourism. And whatever I don't know, I have actually researched in credible sources. So the first one we're talking about is the catacombs of Paris, are a various network of tunnels and are quite actually interesting. So the cemeteries in Paris were overflowing and disease was running rampant in Paris. So the official Catacombs Museum website says that in response to this, in 1785, they began excavating the cemeteries and dropping the bodies into quarries inside the catacombs. As you can see, when they put the bodies into the catacombs, they stacked them up so that way they had more room to hold the bodies because there's so many. And actually, in the catacombs, there's numbers on the tunnels, and each number actually corresponds with the street number above. So actually, the catacombs are the streets of Paris. There's actually various tunnels in the catacombs, but only the ossuary is open to the public. According to the New York Times, more than 170 miles of tunnels and other chambers has been off limits to legal passage since 1955. But despite this, people have been illegally going into tunnels, and actually people of Paris are very protective of where the entries to these are. Okay, so now that's done. We're going to move on to another sinister location. The next one is Museum Fragneroy de Alfort, and it's actually a place of learning and curiosities. According to de Alfort's official museum website, the museum was created in 1766 by Honoré Fragneroy and is one of the oldest museums in France. Fragneroy creations consisted of him filleting and putting various parts of animals and oddities into jars. So some of them would be skeletons, oddities. He would put animals together. An example is the Horseman of the Apocalypse. It is a flayed human and a flayed horse, so you can see all the bones and muscles in the human, and that's actually one of the biggest ones. His work was actually ridiculed during his time, but now is actually a spot for veterinary students to learn and a place for tourism. In fact, it has grown so much over the years, it had to move 3 spots. Since we talked a bit about animal anatomy, we will now move on to another place where a murderer lurked. So the third one is 21 Rue Le Sieur, which is a street, where Dr. Marcel Piot would become known as Dr. Satan. In 1933, Dr. Marcel Piot moved to France into this building on 21 Rue Le Sieur. He actually, during this time, the Germans came to France, and he joined the German resistance. Now, under the name Dr. Eugene, he would help Jewish people to his apartment, where under the guise of helping them, but in reality, he was injecting them with cyanide and then covered their bodies in quicklime. Yeah. So Piot was actually released several times after being caught several times, but finally in 1944 he was caught. According to CVCT Nation, Dr. Marcel Piot was charged with 27 murders, but claimed to have killed a total of 63 Germans and collaborators between 1940 and 1945. And in 1945, he was sentenced to death by guillotine. So after looking into a little bit of the mind of a murderer, it's time to move on. So Paris has many dark tourism spots that has very dark histories behind them. First was the vast tunnels of the catacombs. Second was the mortifying Museum de Alfort. And the third was the sinister 21 Rue Le Sieur. So if you're a lover of dark tourism, the strange and dark history like I am, you should visit these dark places in Paris, France. Learn not just about the history that's typically advertised, but dig deeper and learn the dark secrets as well. Thank you.